Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to sit down with you, Kelly. Thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a long time coming, so I'm excited to sit down and chat with you today.
Yes, thank you so much for saying yes to coming on Soulful IVF. I don't know if you've been on a fertility podcast before. Have you
No,
been?
you're my first. Yeah, I'm excited
Oh,
about it.
oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this is extra special.
Yeah.
Such an honor. You are the creator of Cayla Gray, which is an incredible luxury clean fragrance line. I just love it so much.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
yeah, you're based in Arizona. And so I've heard you speak. I've gotten to meet you in person. You just exude this like down to earth warmth and radiance. I just love your heart so much.
Thank you. That means so much to me.
And one thing I've seen in your marketing, your storytelling, it's about letting every scent tell your story. And your story, I know you never probably envisioned creating a fragrance line, but it was through some really hard things that you experienced in your life that are deeply personal. And oh my gosh, I hope I just can hold it together in this conversation because I'm, you know, very aware of challenges that women experience on their paths to motherhood. And I know you deeply, wanted to be a mom, and this conversation is a vulnerable one. And I know you
Mhm.
haven't really maybe shared in depth about what you've gone through in creating your business and all that's come. That was in 2020, correct?
Yeah, that was 2020. Yep.
So not only throwing a global pandemic in it, you're starting a business. um, would you like to open up and kind of share a little bit about your story and how you came to create Cayla Gray?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to share. I can just give you a little bit of background about me and yeah, exactly why I
Yeah.
decided to build
Mhm.
this fragrance company.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised in Wisconsin, spent a ton of time in nature. I was always a little bit beauty obsessed. And when I landed my first job, it was actually as an assistant, adult job, as an assistant buyer of fragrances. I was like completely in heaven. I really
Mm.
loved the way that like fragrances told a story and so closely tied to memories for people. Like the smell of lilacs always makes me think of my grandma, or the scent of like smoke reminds me of a crackling fire in winter. The smell of an old fashioned like makes me think of poker games growing up with my family.
Oh,
So to me, like the set, the tie between scent and memory is so strong. It's so beautiful. And it's something that I had always noticed, but never thought I would necessarily do anything with. So yeah, that was my first job in corporate retail, and kind of worked my way up the corporate retail ladder in
yeah.
Wisconsin. And then in 2010, I actually moved to Arizona for a job with PetSmart.
Mm.
Met my husband in 2014. We got married in 2016 and decided that we wanted to start try to have babies.
Mm.
So we started to try to have babies, 2016. I got pregnant in 2017 and actually suffered from a ruptured ectopic pregnancy and almost lost my life as well as our first baby. And then it happened again in 2018. And it was really after those two moments that everything just kind of slowed down and went quiet for me. And I, during the time I was, going to therapy and trying to process the grief and everything, but I just needed to put my energy and soul into something. And so fragrance was just an obsession of mine forever. And so when I was pregnant, I realized, my doctor was telling me things like, you probably shouldn't be wearing fragrances because we actually don't know what the ingredients are in these fragrances because those companies are
Mm.
not required to disclose ingredients to you. And I just remember at the time being so heartbroken by it because fragrance was such a huge piece of my identity,
Mm.
and something that just tied so closely to me with, all of the memories and nostalgia that came with it. And so, after losing the babies and things going really, really quiet, I wanted to put my energy into something to help me heal from that grief. And so I started working on a fragrance company, a transparent ingredient fragrance company, and decided to name the company Cayla Gray because that was going to be the name of our first baby. Just wanted a way to really honor the heartbreak that we went through, but put beautiful things back into the world
Yeah.
because of it, because I learned so much through my losses and my grief. My life literally, I completely transformed my entire life because of it. So yeah, I started working on the company in 2019, launched in 2020. Like you said, in the middle of a pandemic, which is wild. But luckily,
Yeah.
my 20 years of experience in corporate retail really helped kind of
Mm.
prep me for being able to continue to persevere through all of the ups and downs of the pandemic.
Mm.
And yeah, we've been growing ever since.
Wow. So just to honor, I mean, what you experienced in 2016, 2017, and as we just talked a little bit before recording, in real time, recording this on March 26th, 2024, and you shared with me that yesterday was your first daughter's anniversary celebration of her passing, and she would have been 6, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was her birth. It would have been her due date yesterday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
March
And
20.
so every single year, there's 2 dates that I light a candle in the morning and just let the candle burn like throughout the entire day. One is the day that we saw the babies on the ultrasound. And then the second is the day that, of their due date, just as a way to kind of honor them and let them know I'm thinking about them. So yeah, so we did that yesterday.
Well, it was her due date. And I shared with you that I do have a 6-year-old. And so just, it's just so hard, like, like thinking about what you've experienced, and like many women have experienced loss, and you had an ectopic pregnancy loss. Can you share a little bit about, for those who may not know, like what was that about? How did that happen? It's, or the fertilized egg grows outside of the uterus.
Yes, exactly. And for me, ectopics happen when the egg gets stuck in your fallopian tube.
Mm-hmm.
And, I found out that we were pregnant. It was around, week 8 of the pregnancy. And the doctors couldn't find the egg anywhere and thought that maybe it was just that I was too early in the pregnancy to actually see anything. And so at the time I was older in terms of like pregnancy, I was only in my 30s, but they call, older. Yeah.
Oh,
According to pregnancy doctors, I know it's crazy.
Ugh.
So I had already been seeing a fertility specialist to make sure that everything was good. We were, prepped and ready to go. There was no blockage or anything wrong. Hormones were good and everything. So luckily I was seeing a fertility specialist already. And so she had me coming back 2 to 3 times a week to do ultrasounds to closely monitor to make sure that there was nothing wrong. But we couldn't find the baby for weeks. And it wasn't until I was actually going to get my phone fixed at one of those you break, we fix iPhone places. And it's so crazy. And I remember sitting in like the little waiting room area, and I felt this incredibly sharp pain. And I was like, something's wrong. Called my husband, and he was like, just come home, just lay down and we'll see what's going on. So lay down, and it was getting worse and worse. And he took me to the emergency room, and we were sitting in the emergency room, and all of a sudden the pain just disappeared. Like I almost felt like an instant relief of pain. It was just very strange. And I was like, well, let's go home. Everything's okay. And he just kind of looked at me and he was like, let's just have something checked out. And then literally as he said that, the ultrasound tech came out, grabbed me. We went back and got an ultrasound. And then I remember going back, they put us in a room, going back in the room and just waiting, chatting with the doctor. He was like, we're still not sure what this is. It could be a threatened pregnancy, just still unsure. And I'll never forget, a nurse came running into the room with a phone. He picked up the phone, started talking to somebody on the other end, and he looked at my husband and he said, we need to get you into emergency surgery right away. You're internally bleeding and you have about a minute before we're in trouble. Yeah. And I remember looking at my husband turned sheet white, and I said, call my parents. That was it. Like I was rushed off to emergency surgery. And that's when we found out that we had an ectopic or ruptured ectopic pregnancy. And so it was so jarring, not only losing our first baby, but just like almost losing my life as well, really put a lot of things into perspective. The heartbreak was just very different, both grieving the loss of me and then also grieving the loss of our baby. So that's, for me, was my ectopic story. And then it happened again in 2018. In 2018, luckily though, we were able to find the egg earlier, so that we were able to watch that progression and make sure that we got into surgery before it ruptured.
So you had 2.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them.
Yep, 2 ectopics. And, we had been to the doctor and my tubes were clear. There was no reason for me to have an ectopic even to begin with. And so for me, there's a much deeper meaning behind, the reasons I wasn't able to have babies, and it took a long time for me to figure out and do a lot of deep inner work as to, what that would be. But yeah, we had 2, and it's extremely rare to even have 1. And yeah, we
Wow.
had two. Mm-hmm.
And the first you said was at 8 weeks? Is that you said?
We lost 11 weeks. I was 11 weeks
11,
both times. Yep.
11 weeks both times. And did you have guidance support from your fertility doctor after that? Were they looking into potential?
Yeah, there's really no reasons for ectopics most of the time. A
Okay.
lot of times there could be like scarring in your fallopian tubes and things like that. I didn't have
Mhm.
any of that. And so there wasn't really a whole lot for us to dig into. It was kind of a fluke thing. Same thing with the second. Again, we checked everything before we got pregnant the second time around and everything was fine. And so,
Mhm.
um, for me, it's like it's a bigger thing than,
Yeah.
science necessarily when those things happen.
Yeah. So recovery from almost losing your life, and you tried again a year later. Is that about right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And how was that healing? Like you just took really good care of yourself. I've heard you speak in other interviews about, you taking morning walks and
Hmm.
journaling and a lot of self-care. Is that some of what you were focusing on?
Yeah, I would say after the first loss, it was my grief was very deep. Our first baby, I didn't understand that this could even happen or that this was a risk, and so the loss came
Mhm.
very suddenly and unexpectedly. And so
Mm.
for me, things just kind of went quiet. Everything went quiet around me, and I spent a lot of time going inward, going to a lot of therapy. My husband and I going to therapy together, a lot of morning walks, just quiet. About 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, I started taking alone trips. So trips by
Mm.
myself, to like new places that I was super excited to immerse myself. And usually for me, it has something to do with putting myself into nature. And so at the time I was going to California, going to Lake La Jolla or going up to
Wow.
Sedona and just spending time alone.
Mm.
Because I feel like on fertility journeys, a lot of times everybody around you has opinions. So many
Mm.
opinions that sometimes it's hard to listen and hear your own voice through everybody else's opinions. And me and my husband found that to be the case a lot of the times. He was uncomfortable with moving forward and continuing to try to have babies, where I was in the place of like, no, I'm not done yet. Like, I want to keep trying to have babies.
Okay.
And everybody else around me had opinions too. It was too
Mm.
risky. You shouldn't try to do it. It's too scary. Like, at that
Yeah.
time, I was close to 40. And then after our second, like I was over 40. And so everybody has opinions on all of the things. And so it was really hard to figure out what I wanted and what my
Mm.
inner voice was telling me. Even honestly separate from my husband, like really me figuring out what I wanted to for myself. And so spent a ton of time going inward and by myself with a bunch of different therapists. Was kind of how I processed through things.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. You're speaking on a lot of points that I believe in too, going inward, listening to your inner voice. And there are so many opinions and people who may have given you other options and you listen to within yourself and you're like, no, I think this chapter is closed. Was it kind of just
Yeah.
the listening within and realizing I don't want to
Yeah.
do other ways to become a mom? You know?
Mhm. Yeah, I think for us, it was a lot of after my second loss, I went into a depression, went on antidepressants for a few months. And so I had a really, really hard time understanding what I even wanted because everything was just numb around me. And
Mm.
once I started to work through therapy and kind of come out of that haze, I started to really do inner work in terms of like, what would my life look like with babies? What would my life look like without babies? How did my body feel in response when I was immersing myself in the days of both options, to
Mm.
really start to feel physically how I was feeling around those different options? My husband and I started IVF twice. We started once in early 2020, and then the pandemic hit and everything just went on pause. And then we actually started again early last year.
Oh,
And
I
it,
didn't know that.
yeah, we were still, we didn't go through the entire process. We went through all the classes and to all the doctor's appointments. And then
Wow.
when it would come time to actually go and pick up the medication, I just stopped. I couldn't do it.
Wow.
And so I needed to continue to do a lot of inner work and healing, both alone and
Mhm.
then as a couple for us to figure out exactly what we wanted to do. And so really it wasn't just until this last August, I was 44 years old, that I decided to close this chapter and really celebrate the beautiful life that I have around me,
Yeah.
and immerse myself in all the little kids that surround me every single day with my
Oh,
nieces and nephews and friends' kids, and be happy with the life that I have because it's a really, really, really beautiful life. But
yeah.
like I said, it's hard. Everybody's got opinions, one way or the other. And sometimes you
Yeah.
just have to really quiet everything around you to hear what you really want.
So honoring your truth and for you and your husband making that decision together, like that's such a personal choice.
Yeah.
And you're right. So much has come, like the beautiful, beautiful blessings. Your company was birthed literally through
Yeah.
your heartbreak.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Cayla Gray would have been your first child, right?
Mhm.
The daughter, your
Yeah.
daughter's name.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
It's seriously my favorite fragrance line. It is so
Mm,
good.
thank you.
It is, and it's clean too, which I want other women
Mhm.
who are going through this path through fertility struggles, like know this, like, this is important to know what ingredients you are putting on your body, what chemicals, what, hormone disruptors. That's a big thing, but you are a clean fragrance company. And I knew that was really important to you.
It was. I mean, so we have known endocrine disruptors, no hormone
Mhm.
disruptors. I think, the thing that's really important is that for us, like to be a company that creates something that you're putting on your body, like how could we not be ingredient transparent? Because I can't make that decision. I should not be making that decision for you and what you feel
Yeah.
comfortable putting on your body. I want you to be able to take our ingredient list and show it to your doctor, and you guys make that informed decision for you versus me dictating whether or not you're comfortable wearing our products. I just never felt aligned or, with integrity on that. And so we used European standards of beauty, which restricts over 1,600 ingredients, versus the US standards are only 11 ingredients. And then, yeah,
Mm,
we disclose every single ingredient in our product. Because again, like I said, I want you and your doctor to be able to make those decisions. I don't want to be the one
mm.
making such an important decision for you, especially as you're going through, a journey that is the roller coaster of fertility.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing the why behind why you started this company. That's why, I mean, your story resonates with me so deeply. It is a way that you said to put beauty back in the world while also honoring the losses of your two babies.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I know you've talked about like what fragrance means to you and tying it with self-care rituals. And for all of us, just having intentional practices like that are really special and sacred. That's one of the things that really stands out to me about your brand. And have your little card here in front of me, your
I
branding is
love
so
that.
beautiful, but it's like a deeply personal ritual. You believe in this, that it's a celebration of oneself, a gift to the psyche, an investment in wellness. And it allows you to go deeper on your self-care rituals. So it's like really more than just like putting a fragrance on your body. It's like an intentional practice of celebrating you, right?
Mhm.
Share a
Yeah. And
little
I
bit
think
about, yeah.
for me, fragrance is such a huge part of my identity. And what's so
Yeah.
interesting is that, us as women, we're so nuanced. We're a constant contradiction of ourselves, right? And so like the thing about fragrance is that you get to pick. For me, I pick a different fragrance every single day based off of the mood, based off of if I'm feeling in my soft feminine or if I wake up feisty and I'm ready to like attack this day and like kill my
Yeah.
goals. You know what I mean? Like I like to wear something different every single day. I
Yeah.
also like to layer different fragrances based
Yeah.
off of my mood. Someday, like I said, I'm feeling like a boss, and other days, like I want to sit in the back seat and be taken care of. And I think what's so special about fragrance is like you can create that really special moment for yourself and set an intention for your day, whether it's the beginning of the day or whether you're lighting a candle at the end of the day to signify, it's time to kind of slow down a little bit. And I think
Yeah.
because scent triggers such beautiful moments in us and will
Mhm.
bring back that memory every time you smell that scent, I
Mhm.
wanted to create a brand that was able to continue to evolve as women evolve too. And so we have our
Mhm.
core line of scents, but then we release every quarter like a new limited edition scent that you can revive your scent. You're stepping into a new chapter, and really honor kind of those constant contradictions that we are as women. So it's just for me,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful way to constantly refresh myself and kind of my identity a little bit.
Yeah, the layering of the scents is so powerful. I love it. I actually reordered another discovery kit of your like
Yeah.
your basic scents because they're so good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love them all, and I like used them all, and I'm like, I can't remember which one I loved again so much.
I love that.
But they are so good. Yeah, letting each scent tell a story, and with self-care, with women on the fertility path and having intentional, like self-care is like number one. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
And the connection to scent maybe not everybody connects with scent. I sure do. And I know you do.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your memory, like our memories, and thinking about, I have a background as an occupational therapist. So like learning about the olfactory system and the limbic system and how it ties in with our memories. And I still have like, I have a little box. I don't know if you do, but just like memories of like my grandma's perfume that was given to me. I have perfume from such and such memory, that I remember wearing in this experience. And it's powerful.
It is. Yeah,
Sense.
it is. I still have a box of same like
Yeah, you do too.
fragrances. I have my first ever fragrance that like I remember my dad took us when we were younger to New York City and took us to like this fancy department store and bought me my first ever like adult bottle of perfume. And I still have it. It's a little yellowed and the scent is definitely not what it used to be, but I can still smell it and remember those moments. And I think it's so special.
Yeah. Something else I love about your company too, and you talk about reminding women to slow down, be intentional in life. I mean, life is busy, right? Like our society is moving so fast. I think what you represent and your company, it is like an intentional slowing down, and how much that can support us in our moving forward through challenges, through just daily life. Right? What are your thoughts about
And
that?
I think, after my first ectopic pregnancy, me almost losing my life, it really, like I said, everything quieted for me. And I started to notice things so much more vividly than I ever had before. I noticed that as I was moving through my days, it was almost like I was doing it on autopilot. I would wake up and do the same routine every single morning. I would go to work for 10 to 12 hours a day. I would come home, have dinner, watch TV for an hour, and then go to bed. Like the emotions that I was moving throughout my days were just not intentional at all. And I was missing the beauty that was surrounding me. I'll never forget, I was having Thanksgiving a meal with my entire family, and we were all like rushing to get everything together for dinner, and making sure that everything was prepared perfectly. We were ready to eat at 4 o'clock right on time. And I remember everybody was just rushing around and not really noticing this moment that was happening in the corner of my eye. And it was my two nephews. They were over by this train set and they were giggling so hard, like their little voices. It was like the most beautiful sound ever. And I don't even know what they were cracking up at, but I'm literally watching them with like tears welling up in my eyes because of the pure joy that they were experiencing that I would have missed because we were so busy like moving throughout our days. And so something that has been very intentional for me after my losses was me leaving my corporate job to start Cayla Gray was one big thing, to make sure that there's not just always these end goals that I have in mind, but I'm actually enjoying the days of getting to that end goal. And then the second was like every single day I walk outside and I stop and I just look up at the sky and see like the beauty that literally surrounds me. I listen to the birds chirping. I mean, all the different things that we just take for granted because we're moving through our days, just kind of on autopilot. So I'm big on creating moments of intention and just slowing down, even if it's for a minute, to just take in the surroundings and the noises and the smells, and the sights around you. I think it's really important for us to be doing that.
Yeah, so beautiful. Reminder for all of us, just slow down and notice the beauty around you, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's such a simple thing, but I mean, our days are wild and busy and caught up with taking care of everybody. And we miss so much because we have our massive to-do list that we need to get through every single day.
Your line not only includes fragrance, well, the roller balls, that's what are my favorite. The roller balls, the sprays, the candles, the body oil, right? Am I missing something?
Yeah. We have an item called an everything spray that we're gonna really talk about a lot more this year. It can be used on everything. It can be used in your house, your car, linens. It's safe enough for your body. So that's something that we'll be launching in more scents this year too. Yeah.
Like different scents of that, the everything spray?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got it in Slumber, which is kind of our nighttime scent. I put it all over my linens at night. So yeah, we're going to be releasing that in some of our limited edition scents this year too.
Oh my gosh. If I had your collection, I would just using all of them all the time,
That's what I do.
Oh yeah. And like just to even the experience of choosing the scents that you do, you really tap into the memories and the sense that you love. And are you taking people like with you, business partners, your coworkers? Or are you doing this like totally solo? I'm just curious, like from a business standpoint.
So typically when I start a fragrance, you can see my fragrance wall behind me. It's
Yeah.
got a ton of different fragrance notes on it. I just start to mix and like I always get inspired by something.
Yeah.
And so like petals, for example, our
Yeah.
petal scent is like a very floral, almost
I'm
clean
wearing it.
laundry scent. Yeah, I love petals. And I created that one because of one of my solo alone trips in La Jolla. I was walking past this beautiful hotel and pumping out of like one of the rooms was like the smell of fresh clean laundry, but at the same time I was walking by this beautiful jasmine plant that was blooming, and it was just a mix of like clean laundry and jasmine that completely inspired me. Came home, bought a bunch of different fragrance notes and started mixing, and then yeah, I create like kind of that mixture, and then I send it off to a chemist to send back to me in a cleanly formulated format, and then I send it
Mm.
out to usually a test group. Right now we launched a couple test groups on Instagram on our social media channels. I love to send it out to like our actual customers, to like bring them along on the journey and get their feedback. And
Yeah.
we make any, tweaks or adjustments based off of what they say. But also like, I love to hear what they think of when they smell it upon, first smell. Like,
Yeah.
what does it remind you of? Does it remind you of a person or a place, or like, what do you think it smells like? It's so fun to kind of bring our customers and, obviously friends and family along on the creation journey too. So that's typically our process.
That's so cool. Was it the La Valencia Hotel in La Jolla? I wonder.
Close. It was the Colonial, the Grand
Oh,
Colonial.
okay.
Yeah,
I
right
used to
down
live
the
in San
street.
Diego, and
Yeah,
there's something about the smells there, right? Like, why is
yeah,
everything smell better over here?
yeah, yeah. It really was the Grand Colonial, and that they have like this little suite
Oh,
area
oh.
downstairs. And I was just walking by to go to the cove, and yeah, it was
Mm.
crazy. The smells. It was so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Um, well, something I just think fragrance is so underestimated, And I read a post on your website or on social media recently, and I just want to read it because it like really speaks a story. But scent is the language of memory, the poetry of the past. It is the brushstroke that paints a picture in our minds, a chord that strikes a note in our hearts. Through the art of fragrance, we can create a world of memories, a landscape of moments that tell the story of our lives. Each fragrance you make is a story. It's
Mhm.
so beautiful.
Yeah, and I really believe that. I love fragrance so much. I think the smell of like walking into somebody's house and the way that their house smells, like will always,
Mm.
every time I walk into that house, I think of them and the moments that we created, in that space together. Or, like I was saying earlier, the smell of an old fashioned, like a drink,
Yeah.
it always brings me back to like playing poker with my family growing up. Or, I created the hearth scent because
Yeah.
my dad would throw like huge bonfires in the backyard in the middle of winter. And I just love that smoky, earthy scent with like the
Mm.
crisp snow. And so I just love the way that a fragrance tells such a beautiful story. And I think if we're intentional with the way that we use fragrance, you can literally capture those moments and bring them back every time you smell that scent. And I mean, there's nothing
Mm.
cooler to me than that. I love that.
It's so amazing. I just love how you've honored Cayla, your daughter,
Yeah. Yeah.
and through scent. And it's like it lives on
Mhm.
forever. And look at all the
Yeah.
lives that you're impacting and the beauty that you're bringing into the world. Mhm.
Yeah. I think for me, like other people, I was unable to create memories with my babies. But like other people can create so many more memories with the
Oh,
sense that I created for them in their honor. And like,
oh
I think it's so special. And like, I know they're looking down on me and they're watching all this magic happen. And,
my gosh.
yeah, I can't wait to see them one day and, tell them all these
Oh,
beautiful stories of all the things that people are creating.
makes me cry. It's like because of
Mhm.
your courage and like going for it, your dream,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
wanting to be a business owner, wanting to start in this industry. I mean, did you feel very, I don't know, intimidated, overwhelmed when you started, or you're like, I'm going for this, like this is a dream, I feel called, the calling, right?
Yeah.
The nudge.
It's a calling for sure. I think I just had such a passion around it. And I mean, the fragrance industry is massive, right? You've got these massive companies that have billions of dollars to spend on marketing and all the things surrounding that. But when I took a step back and looked at it, I'm like, I need like 0.1% of this market to be successful. Like I can get 0.1% of this market. And really, it kind of came down to at first I didn't share really the backstory about it too much. But then when I started sharing the backstory about Cayla Gray, I think what's even more important than us being a successful business, which is important because I have bills to pay and all the things, but
Mhm.
was really the fact that once I started sharing my story, so many other women felt comfortable sharing their stories, that felt they felt seen and heard. And I think there's a weird shame and stigma around infertility. And the more that I talked about my journey, the more that they felt that they had a safe place to talk about theirs too. And I think that has kind of taken on a life of its own within my company. And it's something that I will always openly talk about and share is my fertility journey, because it's lonely. Fertility is very lonely, especially as the woman going through the journey. You know, sometimes it's even lonely within your marriage or within your relationships. So I think being able to have a tribe around us of people that have been through the journey and are there to support you, whatever way you decide to go, I think is something that's really special that has come out of this brand that I wasn't even expecting.
No, you're so spot on. I think your story is why, I mean, would you say it's a big part of it, why it's grown so much and the people you have reached, like you said, it's just speaking to, this is such a personal path that ignited this company, right? Like,
yeah. And I think, you know, we have a story behind our brand. A lot of the big companies don't. You know, and whether or not you've been on a fertility journey, I think people want to support somebody that had a dream and like created a dream from nothing, because they have a passion behind it. And so I think, you know, for all the business owners out there sharing their journeys and the why behind their brand, it makes a big difference. It's, you know, I shop differently, and try to, you know, buy from brands that have a mission and a heart behind it. And, you know, I know other people too do.
Yeah. Well, I know that, you know, it's important for those on the fertility path who want a clean fragrance too. It's like really important. You don't want to go into the toxic, just, you don't want any of that in your life.
Yeah. It's confusing. The market is confusing out there as to what's healthy and what's safe for people. You know, we try to make it somewhat easier.
And where do you see your company growing? I know you have a local store in Phoenix where you're based. Right.
Yeah.
But just kind of online is your main way for people to get your product.
Yeah. So really direct to consumer. We've got we opened our own shop in April of last year. We're coming up on a year in a couple weeks here, which is a great way for people to come and smell things in person. And then we're in about 250 boutiques across the country. We're in like Four Seasons, Fairmont Princess Resorts, things like that. So we'll continue to partner with, you know, specific retailers that really understand our vision. And just continue to grow and scale from there. And we'll be releasing our limited edition seasonal scents. And we always love to do like partnerships and collaborations. We have a private label side of our business too, where we create custom scents for influencers, brands, and celebrities. So we love to partner and create, you know, beautiful scents and moments for all types of people as well. So we'll continue that side of our business. That is something
that's like a dream. That would be a dream collab to do with you.
No, it'd be so fun.
I don't even know what's involved in that, but I already have like the word of what it would be for the rollerball.
Oh, I love that. That's very cool.
But no, thank you for gifting the community that I support, you know, a code, and it's Lisa IVF. So get a little discount on that. And it's just, what you're doing is just, it's so beautiful. I'm so grateful to know you and be connected. And I really cherish like you sharing your personal story, like, you know.
Always. I think it's important.
Oh, you're amazing. And I'll include ways for people to connect with you. Do you want to leave any other extra resources for people, your website?
Come find us on our website. It's caylagray.com, CAYLAGRAY.com. And then on Instagram, I'm Kelly_Ward_Kussman. And then Cayla Gray Co. Is our Instagram. We would love to see you and, you know, hear about your journey and your story. And would love to connect.
You're amazing, Kelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.